Using both of them. So we live now. Hello, everybody in live land, brothers and sisters out there. All right, so we're gonna blow the horn now to call the people. All right, so Chag Sameach, Hanukkah Shalom, Chodesh Shalom, and Shabbat Shalom. 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 Se la puerta, por favor. All right, so this is the 7th day of Hanukkah, and we're in 1Maccabees chapter 4. And today we're going to try to read verses 1 through 30. Depending on how fast we go, we may be able to read more. So if we can get a volunteer reader to read the first 30 verses, that would be beautiful. But before that, let us do the Chodesh, the Chidush for the Chodesh. Okay, let's say the Shema together. Shemi Yashad Allah Yahweh. Let's say the Shemi together, please, in Hebrew. Shemi Yashad Allah Yahweh Allahayinawa Yahweh Chad. Wahabda at Yahweh Alahayika, Bakal Lababka, Wabakal Napashka, Wabakal Ma'atka. Let's say our Father, Abinawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kudash, Haya Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwathka, Taba'a, Ratizaka, Haya Isha, Baratizaka, Haya, Bashemayim, Latanganawa, Lakam, Kali Yuwam, Wasilakanawa, Kabawatinawa, Kasilakanawa, Kabawatinawa, Wala'a, Tabiyatnawa, Banasir 1, Abal, Hoshinawa, Manuri, Bashem Yeshua HaMashiach Aman. Ya Barakaka Yahweh Yashamarka. Ya Ari Yahweh Panyawa Alika wa Yachanka. Ya Sha'a Yahweh Panyawa Alika wa Yashomnika Shalom. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Blow up the trumpet in the Kadash new moon and the Kasah covering on the day of our solemn feast. Kadash number 10. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So this is Psalms 127 for the Kiddush Chodesh. Except Yahweh build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except Yahweh keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows. For so he giveth his beloved sleep. Lo, children, are heritage of Yahweh, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. As the arrows are in the hand of the mighty man, so are children of the youth. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. Psalms 128, Song of Degrees. Blessed is everyone that feareth Yahweh, that walketh in his ways, for he shall eat the labor, for thou shalt eat the labor of thine hands. Happy shalt thou be, and it shall be well with thee. Thy wife shall be as a fruitful vine by the sides of thine house, thy children like olive plants round about thy table. Behold, that thus shall the man be blessed that feareth Yahweh. Yahweh shall bless thee out of Zion, and thou shalt see the good of Jerusalem all the days of thy life. Yea, thou shalt see thy children's children, and peace upon Jerusalem. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. Hear me, your father, O children, and do thereafter, that ye may be saved. For Yahweh has given the father honor over the children, and has confirmed the authority of the mother over the sons. Whoso honoreth his father maketh an atonement for his sins, and he that honoreth his mother is as one that layeth up treasure. Make sure the light is on that USB. Layeth up treasure. Whoso honors his father shall have joy of his own children. All right, everybody, shalom. We had a minor technical difficulty. Let me do something real quick. Unplug this. Now do what you were doing over there. Go ahead and do what you had to do. Okay, now this is under here because it works better like that. So, ¿se prendió la luz? Okay.
It's on.
All right, good. All right, so luckily, everybody, let's finish with these readings and prayers. He that honors his father shall have a long life, and he that is obedient to Yahweh shall be a comfort to his mother. He that feareth Yahweh will do honor to his father and do service unto his parents. As to his masters, honor thy father and mother both in word and deed, that a blessing may come upon thee from them. For the blessing of the father establishes the houses of children, but the curse of the mother rooteth out foundations. He that forsaketh his father is as a blasphemer, and he that angereth his mother is cursed of Yahweh. Ephesians 6:1. Children, obey your parents in Yahweh, for this is right. Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of Yahweh. The bread which we break, is it not the communion of the body of Hamashiach? Yeshua Hamashiach, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me has everlasting life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If a man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. When Yeshua said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, except ye eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, ye have no life in you. Yahweh, Barakna'ah, Lacham Nawa, Watawarakhay, Lacham Nawa. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech ha'olam, hamot ze lechem min ha'oretz. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech ha'olam, hawatazah ya'alakam man ha'aratazah. Let's eat the bread. Nice shalom again. That's right. The cup of blessing which we bless. Water. Is it not the cup of the communion of the blood of Hamashiach? After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as often ye drink it in remembrance of me. He that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood dwelleth in me, and I in him. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. I will lift up the cup of salvation and will call upon the name of Yahweh. 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 Yahweh Barakna Yana what the Warakaya Yana. Barukuta Yahweh Elohim Melecha Olam. Bore Perihag Gofen. Barakada Yahweh Elohim Malaka Iwalam Bawara Paria Hagapan. Barakada Yahweh Elohim Malaka Iwalam, who has sanctified us with his commandments and favored us, and given us in love and favor this Chadash as an inheritance, as a remembrance of the feast days and seasons. For this day is the beginning of the month, a remembrance of the exodus from Egypt. For ye have chosen us, and ye have blessed us from among all the nations, and you have given us your holy Chadash in love and favor. Barakata Yahweh, who sanctifies Chadash. L'chayam, hallelujah. Chodesh shalom. Let's drink the wine. When Zaquan would do communion with us, Kabbalah and Kiddush, he did not waste the wine. Any wine that was meant to be drunk got drunk. Let's go into Kiddush Shabbat. Genesis chapter 3, Genesis chapter 131 and 2, 1 through 3. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Thus the heavens and earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the sixth day, if you know it, say it. Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because it ended he had rested from all his work which Elohim created and made. And it says, Zokor eth Yom HaShabboth Lekadoshu. Zakwar af Yom HaShabbat LaKodashwa. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our power, King of eternity, who sanctified us with the commandments and commanded us to remember the Shabbat to keep it holy. Barakata Yahweh, Alahayinawa, Malakayu Alam, Asherah, Kodashnawa, Bamatizawatka, Watzwanawa, Lazakar, Hashabat, Lakodashwa. Yahweh, before whom our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did walk, the Elohim which fed me all my life long until this day, the Malach which redeemed me from all evil, bless the sons, and let the name of Israel be named on them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth. Yishim ka Yahweh ka Ephraim, Waki Menashe, Yashayam ka Yahweh ka Aparium Waka Manasha Aman. Yashmek Yahweh ka Shora, Rivka Rokel Waleo. Yashyamka Yahweh Kashara Rabakwa Rakala Balhawazalpa Aman. Ya Barakaka Yahweh, Ya Shamarka, Ya Adi Yawapanyo Alika, Wa Yakanka, Ya Sha'ad Yawapanyo Alika, Wa Yashamlika, Shalom. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Amen. Barakatah Yahweh, Alahayinawa, Malakai Walam, who has sanctified us with his commandments and favored us, and given us in love and favor this holy Shabbat as an inheritance, as a remembrance of the act of creation. For this day is the beginning of all holy days, a remembrance of the exodus from Egypt. For you have chosen us, and you have blessed us from among all the nations, and you have given us this holy Sabbath in love and favor. Barakatah Yahweh, blessed are you, Yahweh, who sanctifies Shabbat. Kum Yahweh, Kum Yahushua Mashiach, Kum Yashala, Kum Yashala, Kum Yashala, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. All right. So that's the prayer that we have for the Shabbat and for the new moon. And now we can go into the reading for Hanukkah. All right. And as the reader gets situated, all right, we want to read from First Maccabees chapter 4, verses 1 through 13. All right, so I'll take this. All right, so we thank Yahweh that we have been able to make it to another time to worship him, to give praise and honor and glory to him. All of our time with him is limited. Our time with each other is limited. So let us be more mindful of how we treat each other, how we talk to each other, how we respect each other, and how we deal with each other. Respectfully, maturely, and without regret for anything that we may have done or said. So we have to stay in the spirit. Khan? And I'll read this real quick. This dealing with Hanukkah. This is from the history book Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews. This is book number 12, chapter 7, and I'm reading section 6, and we'll probably read it tomorrow also. And what I'm about to read roughly covers a period from 167 to 164 and 170 AD. Okay, and it says, now, when therefore the generals of Antiochus's or Antiochus' armies had been beaten so often, Judas assembled the people together and told them that these many victories which Yahweh had given them, they ought to go up to Jerusalem and purify the temple and offer the appointed sacrifices. But as soon as he and the whole multitude was come to Jerusalem and found the temple deserted and its gates burnt down and plants growing in the temple of their own accord on account of his desertion, he and those that were with him began to lament, cry, and were quite confounded at the sight of the temple. So he chose out some of his soldiers and gave them order to fight against those guards that were in the citadel until he should have purified the temple. When therefore he had carefully purged it, he brought in the new vessels, the candlestick. What's wrong with that right there? When he said the candlestick, what's wrong with that?
It's not talking about the original text.
What is it? What's wrong with that? What are they talking about? When they say candlestick, they're talking about the menorah. It wasn't a candlestick. There were no candles on there. It's a menorah, which means that which gives light with oil. It's an oil lamp. The table of showbread and the altar of incense, which were made of gold. He hung up the veils at the gates and added doors to them. He also took down the altar of burnt incense and built a new one of stones that he gathered together, and not of such as were hewn with iron tools. So what did he do? He tore down the temple, the altar, and they made a new altar. All right. So on the 25th day of Caslu, which is Kislev, which is the 9th month, which the Macedonians call Apileus, they lighted the lamps that were on the candlestick, which is a menorah, and offered incense upon the altar of incense, and laid the loaves upon the table of showbread, and offered burnt offerings upon the altar of burnt offerings. So, did they have enough to offer sacrifices on the altar? Did they have enough to make the loaves of showbread? Did they have enough to make the incense or have enough incense for the altar? And did they have enough to light the menorah? So where do we get this custom from of lighting the menorah every day for the 8 days of Hanukkah? You see, first of all, the middle light is called the shamash, which is a helper, which also has something to do with the word means. Anybody knows Hebrew, again, you know that word shamash, that SHMSH means what?
Shemesh, sun.
Sun. It means sun. And they say the 8 candles on the side are the helper candles, right? But we don't see anything about lighting up candles on Hanukkah until well after the 400s and the 500, which is going to be the 5th and the 6th century. That's not our ancient custom. Con, everybody understand that? Josephus mentions nothing about not having enough oil, not having enough incense, not having enough flour to make the showbread. And what did the priest have to sprinkle on top of the showbread?
Incense.
What kind of incense? Oh, it's the same in Spanish. Frankincense. He had to put frankincense on there, the crumbled up ground frankincense. And they offered up the animals on the altar. So they had everything that they needed. There was no shortage. There was no shortage. These people have been living in caves now for months, right? How can they not have olive oil? Olives are all. Does anybody remember how many olive trees they saw when in Jerusalem? Did you recognize them? The olive trees round about? And there's a lot of olive trees also in Turkey. You do remember them olive trees, right? All over the place. Olive trees are all over Israel. There's no shortage of oil. The story is that there was enough oil for about a day, and that oil ended up lasting for 9 days. So because of that, Judaism leaders said that we're going to have these candlesticks because of this miracle, and we're going to light these lights every day, and we're going to put focus on these particular lights, put them in the windows so people can see them, and we can have a whole celebration of lights. Now, Josephus does call it a celebration of lights because the children of Israel emerged from the darkness and came into the light of freedom and the light of liberty and the light of the Torah, being able to walk in Torah again. But during these festival of lights, Josephus or anybody else in the 1st and 2nd centuries mentioned nothing, or the 1st century BC or the 2nd century BC when it's actually occurred. Nobody mentioned anything about any miracles with the oil. You won't find that in the history, and you won't find it in the Bible. You only find it centuries later when Judaism now is trying to make celebrations more meaningful. So they're adding meanings. So in adding meanings, they end up adding things to these events that are basically like a lie. Right? Because you're saying something didn't happen. Just like they added the woman being caught in adultery at the temple. They added that to the Bible. It's a lie. It didn't happen. It's a wonderful story. Teaches a great lesson in forgiveness, patience, all right, morality. But it's a lie. It's not something that actually happened. It's fiction, so you can understand. All right. So now what else you say? Now it so fell out that these things were done on the very same day on which their divine worship had fallen off, and was reduced to a profane and common use after 3 years' time. For so it was that the temple was made desolate by Antiochus or Antiochus, and had continued for 3 years. So all these events that were happening lasted for about 3 years. It wasn't a whole generation of oppression by the Greeks' invasion of Jerusalem. It was about 3 years. This desolation happened to the temple in the 145th year, on the 25th day of the month Apuleius, and on the 135th Olympiad. But it was dedicated anew, all right, which is where they get the word Hanukkah, means dedication, on the same day, the 25th day of the month Apuleius, and the 140 year, and the 148th year, and on the 154th Olympiad. And this desolation came to pass according to the prophecy of Daniel, which was given 408 years before. For he declared that the Macedonians would dissolve that worship for some time. So Judas celebrated the festival of the restoration of the sacrifices of the temple for 8 days and omitted no sort of pleasure thereon, righteous pleasure, not wicked, all right, um, not wicked revelry. But he feasted them upon very rich and splendid sacrifices. Again, does this sound like people that are lacking resources? Okay. And he honored Yahweh and delighted them by hymns and psalms. Nay, they were very glad at the revival of their customs, when after a long time of intermission, they unexpectedly had regained the freedom of their worship. So they were glad that they were able to worship Yahweh as it is written and keep the customs of the Torah. That they made it a law for their posterity that they should keep a festival on account of the restoration of the temple worship for 8 days. And from that time to this, we celebrate this festival. So from Josephus was after what? After, let's say after 70 AD. And this event that they are talking about happened at about 164. Right, 164 plus 70 is 234 years. So this is over 2 centuries later, and they're still celebrating this. And during that whole 200-year period, 234-year period, nobody said anything about lighting candlesticks. First of all, what did we use to light our homes in the first century? What did we use?
Oil.
Use oil. We didn't make candlesticks. We had oil. Oil was abundant in Israel. Oil was abundant. Plants of oil, olive plants, olive trees were everywhere. We didn't use candlesticks. We used oil. In the time of Hamashiach, oil. That's why he talks about the 10 virgins with the what? The oil in their lamp. All right. That's why when a widow's husband died, and he was a student, a disciple of the prophet, he said, this oil is going to multiply, and you're going to sell this oil, and that's how you're going to pay off your debt. If everybody's using candles, what's all the olive oil for? All right. They weren't using candles, they were using olive oil. All right. So it says, I suppose the reason was because the liberty beyond our hope appeared to us, and that thence was the name given to that festival. Judas also rebuilt the walls round about the temple and reared towers of great height against the incursions of enemies and set guards therein. He also fortified the city Bethsura, that it might serve as a citadel against any distresses that might come from our enemies. Right. So there's more to the story. We just started at the end of it, but it gives the whole mission of the Gentiles to destroy us, and it talks about how the children of Israel, how we stood against. Talks about Emmaus. We read about that yesterday, and it says that Josephus had 3,000. It says that the Israelites, Judah Maccabees, had only 3,000 men. Okay, they had 3,000 men. Okay, against these, was it 40,000 men and 3,000 cavalry, if I'm not mistaken, something to that effect. Yeah, olive oil doesn't burn either. Olive trees biologically don't burn on fire. Well, the olive oil, when you put a wick inside of it, the oil goes through the medium like the wick and it burns the end of the wick. All right. Now, whether olive oil itself can be lit on fire directly, I don't know. All right. I never tried that, but when we had olive oil lamps, we would have the menorah, put olive oil in it, make like a little paper towel or tissue wick, soak it in the oil, let it hang out the top, coil it inside of the place for where you would normally put a candle, and it would burn. And it does leave, depending on how thick it is, it could leave very little smoke, or it could leave very thick black smoke on the ceiling. So you have to know what you're doing with that. Right. So that's the reading from Josephus. Okay, so now let's move into 1 Maccabees chapter 4. All right, you the reader for today. All right, so here, use this, and get right here. As we're gonna go ahead and start the reading now. We're going into 1 Maccabees. 1 Maccabees chapter 4. All right, we're going to 1 Maccabees chapter 4, and then we're going to start with verse 1. All right, so we're going to try to read to verse 30. So everybody, we're going to share the information, what we know, and it shouldn't take long. All right, so hold on to your seats, and let's start reading. Go ahead.
1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 1. Then took Gorgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army, which was at Emmaus, while as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. In the mean season came Gorgias by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, these fellows flee from us.
But they weren't fleeing, they were going to attack another force. So this is a military strategy that the Israelites were using. Now, these are the same people that we read about in the Bible. This is what the people that Paul, Hamashiach, and Peter come from. We were a warrior people. That's what you have to understand. We're gonna just read the Bible and shout all day and sing songs. We were a warrior people. We knew how to take a life to defend our God, our way of life, and our families. I read.
Verse 6. But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, Fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea.
So they didn't have enough armor and didn't have enough daggers like they really want to. I read.
Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea when Pharaoh pursued them with an army.
So in other words, Yahweh is going to fight the battle for us if we are walking in his will. We're trying to do what's right in his eyes, so there's no reason for him not to help us. Read.
Now therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure Yahweh will have mercy upon us.
And so he's going into this war with a hope and a prayer, but yet and still showing himself full of faith that Yahweh is going to help them in his battle. Read.
And remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host from before our face.
So they smash this company in front of us. Go ahead.
That so all the heathen may know.
All the nation gonna know what?
that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel.
So you know it's not just us, it's Yahweh fighting for us also. It's not just us winning this battle. It's Yahweh that's going to win this battle and fight this battle for us. All right.
Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming.
So these are the Gentiles. Go ahead.
Over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judas sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain. Howbeit, all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gezerah, and unto the plains of Idumea, and Azotus, and Jamnia, so that there were slain of them upon 3,000 men. This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them, and he said to the people, Be not greedy of the spoil.
So don't get overboard with taking the valuables that they have in the war camp, right?
Inasmuch as there is a battle before us. And Gorgias and his hosts are here by us in the mountain. But stand ye now against our enemies, and overcome them, and after this ye may boldly take the spoils.
Well, let's fight first. All right, business before pleasure. Let's go and fight this battle, kill these people. Remember, this is talking about killing. All right, let's kill these people that come into our land, invading, trying to take over our temple, stealing from us. And then when we kill them, now we can try to get some loot, get some war spoils from them, right?
As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who, when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight.
So this battle that Judas had with the main camp made the other people that came back to their camp scared because everything was on fire. All right, read.
They fled, everyone, into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver,
Go ahead.
and blue silk and purple.
So why'd they bring these things to war? They brought the things to war, number one, because they wanted to do trade. All right, and they thought they were going to get these Israelites, and when they got these Israelites, they were going to sell us in slavery. That was the plan. So it was like a business deal for everybody. We're going to beat these Israelites. They're going to become slaves to us. People are going to come buy them, and they're going to bring things to trade with us. All right, go ahead.
And great riches. Verse 24. After this, they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised Yahweh in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever. Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day.
Right.
Now, all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias what had happened, who, when he heard thereof, was confounded and discouraged.
They didn't know how we were able to win that battle. Read.
Because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass. The next year, therefore, following Lysias, gathered together 70,000.
So a year had passed. So this is a year we living in peace. Nobody's bothering us. Maybe little scrimmage, little wars here and there, little battles, but there's no major attack against us. Okay. Go ahead.
Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen.
There's 60,000 men. Read.
That he might subdue them.
60,000 soldiers and 5,000 cavalry, which is the ones on the horses. All right, go ahead.
So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura, and Judas met them with 10,000 men.
Go ahead.
Verse 30. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel.
He said, bless the Savior of Israel, talking about Yahweh, right? He said, bless Yahweh, because Yahweh, they know that he had helped them in battle before, and they wanted Yahweh to help them again. So he starts blessing Yahweh, all right, knowing that Yahweh is going to be able to deliver us again. All right, go ahead.
Who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan,
Right.
the son of Saul, and his armor bearer.
Right. All right, so that's verse 30. We'll pick up with verse 31 tomorrow. We read it to 30, but we also went into Josephus and what he said about it. All right, and again, there's no mention of the candlesticks. There's no mention of a miracle, and it's very disheartening that the practice that came after the event happened by people that didn't really receive all of the prophecies, like the prophecy about Hamashiach in the Psalms, that they added practices, all right, to, Hanukkah. And then a lot of our people ended up, picking it up too. And, as we picked it up, right, as we picked it up, what happened? It just became embedded in the practice. What happened is that we're Israelites, and we picture yourself. You're in the first century. You know how you kept Hanukkah, right? You believe in Hamashiach, so you keep Hanukkah a certain kind of way. Second century, you do it the same way, all right? In the 200s, you do it the same way, okay? 300, you do the same. You believe in Hamashiach and the Torah. Now, all of a sudden, these people that don't believe in Hamashiach, they say, well, we're going to start doing this now. The question is, are you going to follow the ones that have rejected Hamashiach and how they now want to keep this day with these strange custom of lighting the candles? And are you going to keep that custom? Are you going to say, that sounds kind of weird. I don't know where they got that from. You would say, no, I'm not going to do what they're doing. I'm not going to stop doing that. Okay, now, that's what happened. But now, you don't see these things happening. And in the year, and in the 20th and the 21st century, you start to realize, hey, Hanukkah's here. Oh, we got to light the menorah. But you don't know that this is something that people did that had rejected Hamashiach, that had rejected the Torah, literally rejecting the written Torah, and starting to embrace an understanding of the Torah, which leads us all the way up into Maimonides, Guide for the Perplexed, all right? And then the believing Israelites that follow the Torah, follow the teachings of Hamashiach, they become so diminished. Now you have this Catholic Church coming up saying, well, we're not going to do anything that the Israelites did. They had these, the Israelites that were Jews that reject Hamashiach, they come up saying, well, we're going to add different practices. We're going to add different practices to celebrate all of these different days. We got to get the egg, boiled egg. We got to get a lamb shank, and we got to do that for Passover. So they had all these different customs and festivals that were foreign to Hamashiach, all right? So now we're picking up the customs of people that were outside of living righteously by the covenant. They began defiling the holy things, and it started. Hamashiach criticized them also. He says, of a truth, you reject the commandments of Yahweh that you may keep your own tradition. And they start getting all these weird practices over time. Well, the scripture said you shouldn't go so far beyond your house. So what they did, they said, well, technically, this is my house too, so I can double the amount of time with space I can go. Am I lying? These are the practices that they added on. And these are the same ones that say, you know what? Let's light candles during Hanukkah. And ask the question every day this week. Nobody's been able to answer the question yet. Can anybody show in the Bible of the Israelites lighting a candlestick on each day of Hanukkah? Or show it in the archaeology, or show it in history. One of those three, which the history and the archaeology are along the same lines, right? But Josephus didn't talk about it. Philo didn't talk about it. None of these people from the first century talked about these things. Nobody talked about it. So it wasn't done. Somebody added this practice between the 400s and the 500s, between the 5th and 6th century, and we wake up knowing who we are and understanding our celebrations that we're reading in the Bible, but we don't know that stuff has been added to it. But you would know stuff is added to it when you read it for yourself. Be very careful of practicing things and doing things that don't appear in our holy records and the books that our ancestors used. Be very careful. Sure, it might be fun. Sure, it may give you a sense of awareness and celebration, but we don't have to ritualize or religify everything we do. And that's what they did. Why? Because they were absent of the understanding of Hamashiach, of the Torah. They didn't have the true understanding of Chakma, of wisdom. So they said, well, we're going to put all these different practices for Hanukkah, and we're going to add an extra day for Passover. And then if Yom Rishon, if the Day of Atonement falls on the Sabbath, then we're going to move it to the first day of the week. No, you know what? Let's move it to the second day of the week, because we don't want to come right from the Sabbath and then go right into fasting. So let's have a Sabbath, and then we cook. And then after we cook, now we can go to the second day of the week and start the Sabbath then. I mean, start Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement then. So these people have added all man-made practices that are outside of the scriptures. And then we blindly are following them. We're blindly following these practices. And when an elder like me comes in, look, this is not what we did. This is not in the scriptures. It's not in our history. It's not in Josephus. We shouldn't be doing this. Knowing that at some point, those that believed in Hamashiach were not doing this. And then all of a sudden, those that did not believe in Hamashiach, they started to do it. And when they started to do it, the ones that believed in Hamashiach did not imitate them. They didn't imitate what they were doing, adding to the book. So now, 1,600 or 1,500 years later, what are you going to do? Are you going to follow the ones that did not do this, that followed Hamashiach, or the ones that didn't follow Hamashiach, that started creating practices and customs and rituals? You have to follow the ways of our fathers, and that is not the ways of our fathers. That is in addition to what we just read about Hanukkah. All right? That's in addition to what was read. And we can't follow after the tradition and the practices of man. Not as a, they may do something that's good, that makes sense to do, but this right here, what is the purpose that it serves other than, oh, it's kind of fun? That's the only purpose it serves. Oh, it's kind of fun. But we shouldn't be engaging in these types of practices, Israelites. We shouldn't be doing things that people just made up. All right. What if I make it up? You're gonna follow it if I make it up? What if there was no candle lighting? And I said, you know what, y'all? That would be a different story because I'm a believer. But what if you see the Ashkenazi? Okay. What if you see the Ashkenazi doing it? What if you see people that rejected Hamashiach start this new practice when Yahweh helped the children of Israel? And that's not enough. They say, well, we have to add a new practice to it. And they pick on, well, we're going to add the menorah. And we're going to light it every day. You see? So again, you can just go ahead, type in Shabbat 21b. And the Jewish records of the people that mainly rejected Hamashiach, they have, in their record books when it started. I mean, you could argue with them and say that they're wrong to justify, doing it. But I challenge you to find anywhere else where the Israelites did that. You're only going to find it in there. You may find some obscure reference saying they have a strange practice of lighting the candlesticks and so and so time. You may find that. Or lighting lamps, special lamps for Hanukkah. You may find that. Or the dreidel for Hanukkah. You may find different things like that. But you're not going to find it in the first century from the keepers of the Torah and the believers in Hamashiach. You're not going to find it from them. You're going to find it from those people that Hamashiach talked about, where he said, you reject the commandments of Yahweh that you may keep your own tradition. Okay? You may keep your own traditions. So again, for years we've done this practice. And we did it because we saw our predecessors doing it. Okay, and we see the so-called Jews doing it. And then we did it. We were in Christian churches. We weren't doing Israelite practices. We weren't doing this. So now, are we not to light the menorah? Are we not to light the menorah? I would say no, because, and I'm going to say why. I would say no, because it's an extra biblical practice that was introduced by the people that rejected Hamashiach, adding to the history of Hanukkah. So it's not something that we came up with that believed in Hamashiach. People that rejected Hamashiach came up with this particular practice. Right now, I know you may have a menorah in your house, small replica menorah in your house, and you may have candlesticks attached to it, and that's fine. But specifically to say, well, this is Hanukkah, so we have to light the menorah, that is not a practice of the first century believers. That is a practice of a 5th and 6th century non-believers. So non-believers came up with that particular custom. So are we following the religious practices in holy, in let's not say holy, but in biblical celebrations? Are we following after the non-believers and imitating them, or are they imitating us? When you read the history, the menorah played no significant role. So you say, what is the origin of this practice of lighting the menorah? And the origin of the practice of lighting the menorah is the lie that we didn't have enough oil. And because we didn't have enough oil, it was a miracle of the oil. And the oil lasted for the whole celebration. Meanwhile, olive trees are all around. People are feasting, all kinds of celebration. And the scriptures said that it says that during their what does it say? During their celebration, where's the one where it says that they spared no give me that verse. I think it was one of the first ones we read. It says during that celebration, they didn't spare any expenses. All right. It talks about they lit everything up. They had the candle. They plundered the people. First of all, aren't these soldiers carrying olive oil too? Right. They plundered the war camp. They plundered the war camp. Okay. Where's the scriptures about when they started the celebration? Read that. What verse you at?
Celebration. Celebration.
Yeah, when they said they pulled the altar down and then they put up a new altar. Is that in here yet? Yeah, that's from Josephus, right? We read that from Josephus earlier. We didn't get to it in Maccabees. I got the sources confused. So we'll read about that tomorrow. But read in Josephus, and you'll see it in Josephus also. I had to looking at the historical points of Josephus to see where that part of the history comes into play. It's after Alexander. Anybody remember what book I was in? Anybody remember? It's after book. It's in Josephus. We read it a few minutes ago when we first got started. You can go back and look at the beginning of the video because it's the first thing that we read. Okay. So yeah, that practice of lighting a menorah is not a biblical practice. It's not an ancient practice, and it's not something that the believers did. Again, we find it when you go into the book of the non-believers in the Talmud, and you look in Talmud, you put in Shabbat, you put in Sabbath, and you put in 21b. And it's going to come up. You're going to read it for yourself. That they say they tell you, they give the story of why they do it. But why they did it is precipitated upon the lie of not having enough oil. But there was enough oil. There was enough everything. Right? Josephus says they were, had a big celebration. All right. A festive celebration. All right. So that's going to do it for tonight. We'll see you all tomorrow. Yahweh bless you. In the name of Yahweh Shi, Yeshua, Hamashiach. All right. So good night, everybody, and shalom. I know we went over a little bit. We went into an hour and 3 minutes. We wanted, but it's the Shabbat, it's the new moon, and it's it's Hanukkah. So we did the prayers for both of those holy days today, and we read about Hanukkah today. All right, so we're gonna retire for the evening. It's 11 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Pacific, and 12 o'clock Eastern. So everybody get some rest, and we'll see you. We'll see you in the morning. Maybe starting a little late. We don't know, but we'll see you in the morning. Hopefully, we'll be able to start at the same time. All right. So shalom to you, secret disciple. Shalom, Rapaya Allah. Shalom, Kalea. Shalom, Adriana Vaca. And shalom, Daniel, Masha, Silo Wash. Shabbat Shalom, Yawadayeth. Shabbat Shalom. I think I got everybody on there now. We're not going to be on here for 2-3 hours. We had enough information, shared enough. So, Yahweh bless you again. We can't light anything because the temple menorah is a different menorah. I would do a research to see if they found any actual miniature menorahs in the land of Israel in the archaeology that people may have put, in their house. I've seen them on coins. We never put them on coins. So we know it wasn't something that everybody felt like we didn't feel like it was untouchable, like nobody can replicate it or nothing. So it was on coins. I'm not sure how much is found in the archaeology, but we do find oil lamps in the archaeology. All right. We do find oil lamps in the archaeology. And they didn't find any replicating how the menorah looks at the temple. They didn't find any archaeology like that. All right. Tawada Masha Barakatah. Or Barawakatah, Barukatah, Masha. All right, shalom, everybody, because we'll be up here still talking, and people start, getting tired, and so it's been an hour. We went over, but we combined 3 things into one, and we only doubled our time. How about that? Usually we just do Hanukkah, take like 30 minutes. Today we did Hanukkah, Shabbat, new moon prayers, and read from Josephus, and did our regular same 30 verses, and we only took twice as long. And we added all that extra stuff in. So that's pretty good. So give yourselves a round of applause. You did pretty good. You know, the text is clear. And with Zaquana Daniela gone, you know, I don't have the luxury of talking to him and getting all this extra information, or having him, I guess, kind of prime me for what and how to talk about things or whatever. We've been teaching together since 1995. Like, that's how long we've been teaching together. We've been teaching together since 1995. Like teaching together on TV, on street corners around the world for over 3 decades. We've been like literally teaching together. We had like 2 shows on public TV where we were teaching on TV, on cable. All right. We were teaching on cable TV. And after we started to teach on there, suddenly City Hall didn't have no funding for the cable no more. So we went down to the City Hall and protested, but it didn't do no good. They still cut it off. They cut the funding, and there was no more. There's no more Community 21. All right. So now he's no longer with me to help me teach. So, and we have a lot more work to do. So we have to streamline things, become more efficient. People got to take on more responsibilities, more duties, more sincerity. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of duties and responsibilities that are left empty with his absence. All right. So we have a lot to do. We got catch up to do, you know. So everybody have a good night. Enjoy your rest, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right. Shalom. Kadash shalom. Shabbat shalom. Hanukkah shalom.
Shalom.
All right. Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.